In this video, I want to look at where all the main controls are in the animator section, and then in the coming videos, we'll explore them each in detail. Now, the animator is an adaptable MIDI phrase player, and it plays horn phrases that are pre-programmed and ship with Session Horns Pro. And it has phrases in a variety of different musical genres, and they're grouped by genre, then into song, and each song contains 6 phrases. So there are 6 phrases, and they're all based on a harmonic progression, and you can shape the chord progression by playing your own chords as well. And you can also disable the harmony function and just use the rhythms and the articulations in the animator phrases. So there's really a lot of flexibility with them. Now we activate it by clicking in the LED here, animator, and that opens up that section. Or we can get to it from the voicing assistant, the last option here, and that'll turn it on as well. So let's look at the main controls here. We have a tempo setting over here, and this sets the playback speed. 1:1 means it'll play back at the tempo of your DAW. We can play it at double time or at half time with that. The swing knob is used to apply a swing factor to the phrases. Now the basic idea is you just hit a note or multiple notes on your keyboard and it'll trigger these phrases. For example, and we'll see a little progress bar there. But those are the phrases and they're triggered that way, and this can add some swing to it. Now we have the genre drop-down menu over here, and this allows us to choose between the different genres of songs. So for example, I can choose another genre. And then we have the song drop-down menu here, and that'll allow us to select between the different songs available in each of the genres. You'll notice that as I switched, the instruments changed here, and that's because I have the link preset to song button enabled here. That means each animator song is set with its own section set up, and also in the sound its own mixer settings and effects settings. So when this link button is on, when we switch songs, it'll call up the associated settings that pertain to that, or we can unlink it and just leave our own section in there. So that's the song drop-down menu to call up the songs associated with each genre. And we have spin controls over here that allow us to select from the 6 phrases that are associated with each song. And these are mapped onto the white notes starting at C-1 in your keyboard. So there's several ways we can switch phrases. For example, let me play one right now. So I can switch by clicking these spin controls, and it'll move as you see what's selected there. Now I'm selecting the 3rd phrase associated with this song, Daybreak, in the R&B genre. So we can use the spin controls, or we can click right on the keyboard here. And the other thing we can do is actually trigger in this low octave. If you have a big keyboard controller, trigger in the C-1 octave in the low range on your keyboard, the white notes, and that'll switch the phrases as well. And that's great if you want to use some key switching to program the phrases to change while your DAW is playing. Now we have a song editor and phrase browser. We get to that over here. That's a little gear icon. And here we can select phrases by clicking on the left of the keyboard. So that's the one that's selected. Now I can click there, and that's another way of selecting the phrases. You see it updates over there. And we can also reassign phrases to the white notes by clicking the actual songs, or the genres rather, going into the songs, and then we see the 6 phrases, and we can, let's say, mix and match. If I double click that, it's now added this Cuba Libre 2 into this Daybreak song, so you can customize the phrases and how they're laid out in the songs like that. But we'll explore that in another video in more detail. Now we can also offset the start of the phrase, and we can offset it by 16th notes. And we use the spin control over here. Right now it's starting on the first 16th of the phrase, but we can go up with the spin controls up or down, or just mouse slide in that field there and offset where in the phrase we want it to start from. And we can really get a lot of nice, fun, and useful variations with that. And again, we'll look at that in another video. And similarly with the length, we can change the length of the phrase by 16th notes with the spin controls here. When you hover your mouse over it, you'll get the spin controls. So you can get some uneven, or you can also mouse drag like that, some uneven lengths, which can lead to some nice syncopations. And we have this 6th note function, and this is great. It determines when there's a 6th in the chord in the phrase. It determines if it's going to use the minor or major 6th. So you can get some nice variations with that as well. Now we have a dynamic fader over here, and this defines what determines the dynamics in the animator phrase. And when we move it up here, it's going to be the velocity sensitivity that you strike your key with versus the dynamics that are programmed or pre-programmed in the phrase. So you can sort of set a ratio there of how much you want of each to influence the dynamics of the phrase. Very useful. Now, we have a harmony and unison selector, and this is also one of the sections of the animator that gives us a lot of flexibility. When it's in harmony mode like that, all the instruments play their own voice, their own note in the chord, and when we're in unison mode, they're all going to play the same note. Just to give you a quick little demonstration, let's load in one of the Daybreak ones by double-clicking there, and here it is in harmony mode. And in unison mode. So lots of possibilities with that. Now we have mode buttons over here. One shot is really useful. This will allow you to trigger the whole phrase without having to hold a note down. So you just press the note briefly on your keyboard and the phrase plays back in full. And what's great about this is you can then change the harmony while the phrase is playing back by changing the chord on your keyboard. So you can really play in the chords you want with these pre-programmed phrases. Very powerful. And we have the rhythm only mode, and that only uses the rhythm and the articulation of the animator phrase. And again, you can change harmony while the phrase is playing by changing what notes you're playing on your keyboard as it's playing back. We have a humanized knob, and this controls the timing and the tuning and the velocity of the instruments in the horn section. When it's all the way down, everything's tight. All the instruments are playing the exact same timing, tuning, and velocities, and we add randomized variations as we dial it up, and it can get pretty sloppy as we move it higher. And there's the progress bar here. You saw as I played the phrase, it allows you to see where you are, the current playback position in the animator phrase. And that's it. Those are the main controls of the animator, and we'll start looking at them in more detail in the next video.